Starting a new project today of still life. So if you wanted to have a go at still life, that's the theme for this one. And I thought this week I'll just go over a few drawing things, because the great thing about still life is working from direct observation. So I thought I'd just do a recap of a few drawing skills that might be useful to some people. Then next week I'll start some sort of painting. Might start with tone and then work into colour as we go. Right, okay, so thinking about drawing sort of like kind of regular shaped objects, so these sort of things. So with something like a bowl, just drawing an ellipse. So I find, you're right, that's all right. So what can be quite, what can be useful when you're drawing an ellipse is just to start by just doing like a cross, something like that. I've done this quite a few times, but just to recap. And then you can think, well, how wide is that? You can just measure that up, so that you've got the same width either side. And then the same sort of depth. So again, just check that off, maybe a little bit higher. And then having that kind of framework, those sort of thinking lines, just helps to get the overall shape. So once I've got there, I find it's the easiest thing to do then is to draw the tighter radiuses. So perhaps this one and this one. And if it helps, you can turn your paper around or your boards around. Sometimes that can help. And then work around to these kind of broader ones. So I tend to draw that with the pencil, holding the pencil at the end of the pencil and kind of drawing from the shoulder and the elbow, and sort of drawing at arm's length. And then once I'm happy with the shape, I can then just go over, almost like trace the lines that I've drawn and hopefully come up with a nice sort of smoother lip shape, something like that. So that's that one. What else? We could do something like, say if you're drawing a bottle, something like that, and you want to get both the sides looking symmetrical. Again, you can use this same idea of just popping a centre line, something like that, and then you could do the same ellipse type thing. And drawing these sort of objects, I tend to start from the top and work my way down. So that can be this bit, the little cork in the top. We quickly draw that ellipse, and then it's working my way down. So we've got a fairly straight bit there, and then kind of getting the shoulder shape, and then out something like that. So that's roughly the shape of the bottle, half of the bottle. And then if I just want to get the other half, you can kind of do a sort of dot to dot thing. Let's just measure these bits off. And with measuring, I find it's easier to measure with one thing and then draw with the other. So I'll measure that. And then do it that way so you can see a bit better. There. And it's just then a matter of just kind of joining these shapes up. And hopefully that'll come out symmetrical. Depends how much care you take. It's a bit wobbly, but the idea is there. So that's a little bit of structure, drawing ellipses. There's measuring, and do you all feel confident with this kind of measuring?
No.
You use a ruler. Well, you could measure it with a ruler if it helped.
Yeah.
So say I was going to have a go at drawing this and just trying to get the proportions. So the important thing about this is to stay in the same place. So if you're sitting down, you don't want to be kind of leaning forward, then leaning back. And then you could be lining up, so using a pencil to measure with and something to draw with, closing one eye and lining the tip of the pencil up with, say, this side of the bottle. And then I'm basically adjusting my thumb so that at the same time I can see the other side. So if I do that, I get a measurement, something like that. So that would be, from where I'm standing, that would be the width of this sort of metal tin. To get, say, the height, I could perhaps start with I could also measure the cap, how wide the cap is, and that would come out about there, and hopefully that's in the middle. And then once I've got that, I can pop a line down the middle and move that over slightly. Width of the cap, width of the bubble. I could do that thing of across to draw the ellipse. I can also measure, say, from the back of this lid to the front, from here to here. And basically, that would come out something like that. And then I can then draw that in. So that gets me I could measure down for the cap if I wanted. Take that down to there. And then I've then got another ellipse just in here. I'll just do that freehand, but you could construct it if you want. And then just measuring the height. I'm basically measuring from here down to the bottom. And that comes out about there. And then the important thing is that you get a nice elliptical shape on the bottom. So sometimes actually drawing the whole shape, you could kind of draw the whole shape like that, and then just trace over the bits that you want, like that. Yeah, and hopefully you've got, you can sort of measure it. I mean, you can also, so if I was going, there's also this little bottle next to it. I could sort of measure the gap between them and just carry on drawing. Then just keep measuring, keep drawing. So that's very direct measurement. There's another kind of measurement which I won't talk about today. I'll maybe do that next week, where you think, well, actually, I want my bottle about this size, so I'll measure the base of the bottle, and then use that as my measurement. I'll go over that next week. So that's sort of very direct measuring. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, so if you're drawing something like a box, so a little bit of perspective. So what I'm showing you this because this is the sort of view I'm looking to draw, like two sides and a top. Or it could be that way around, doesn't really matter. Yeah. So if I'm seeing that, and this, you may not be particularly into still life drawing, but this would apply if you go outside and draw buildings, anything like that. And it's good practice to practice indoors, where you've got all the comforts of the studio. Let's have a little bit more room. So there's a couple of devices that can. The other thing, I'll come back to that in a minute. So you can do the same sort of thing, kind of sighting angles, yeah, as you would measuring it. So you can use this to sort of see the angles. So with this box, I'm going to start with, I find the easiest thing to draw is like this edge here, and then this edge and that edge. Okay, so if we start with those, so that will be a vertical, and then that sort of angle for that. What you can do if you're doing this, sometimes it helps to just try and imagine this as the hands of a clock face. So if I kind of sight that angle, I think, well, that's probably about 10 past the hour. It's coming out something like that. And the other one, actually about 10 to. I've roughly got the same angle there, either side. And once I've got those two in, I could then just measure it and do a measured drawing. I'll make it a bit bigger though, I'll do that. So you could sort of do that direct measuring that I've just done. I'll make that that one. And then what you can do then is, if you sight this angle, and then you compare it to this one, say that's the end of it, and then you could then compare it to that one. So if I do that, what I should find that this one is just a tiny bit steeper. So if I just brought that down parallel, what I should find is this one It's just a little bit more like that. That sort of kind of comes up a bit. And then this one up here would be the opposite. That would be a bit shallower. Sorry. This is falling over. That should come down a little bit like that.
Why is that?
So that's kind of perspective. So basically what's happening is this front edge is closer to me than this back edge. So the edges appear to converge. So we know that they don't, but that's how they appear. So if you're drawing a building, you'll find that this will be closer to you than, say, the back corner of the building. And consequently, because things that are bigger are, appear bigger. Sorry, things that are closer to you appear bigger. The front edge is closer to me, that will feel bigger than the one further back. So that's got to be smaller than that. Consequently, these have got to go in here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. Because it really isn't rocket science. So what the easiest thing to do then is just do some verticals there. And then, same here, that one will be that angle. This one will just be slightly steeper. And this one will be slightly shallower. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then that should look like a box, or should look like a building, or a shed, or whatever you're drawing.
It's fine margins, isn't it? Fine margins between the front and the back.
Yeah, it's only a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's probably like a degree or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you had it going the other way, it then starts to look a bit odd. Because we're used to that convention.
See this, the top angle, so is that coming slightly in then?
This one,
The one, that one.
that should be shallower than that one.
So therefore, like, that one compared to that one, this top angle here.
Yeah, that's
should
it,
be
go down a
in.
bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I think I find that the easiest way to talk about it is to start with these,
Yeah.
and then steeper, shallower, steeper, shallower. So, what- Right on the red one now. Lost a pencil. Ah, here we go. So what you'll find is that these should, they'll converge. They'll come to a vanishing point. So that should come up there. And these will, the vanishing point is always on your eye level. So that's a way, these should sort of, so they're probably, they probably want to be a bit steep, because my eye level is better here. But they will converge on your eye level. So this will come over here somewhere, this over here somewhere, and that'll always be wherever you are. Okay?
Yeah.
The only other thing I was going to mention is don't do a box. We've got a few different boxes here for practice. The other thing I thought very quickly mention is drawing shapes. So something like an apple. It's very tempting to think, well, it's just a round, just completely round shape. But of course, it's not. It's this particular apple. It's slightly higher that side, and that feels like a slightly tighter radius there than it does here. So one thing that can be helpful is to look through a viewfinder. Might help. I'll put that there. So you find that sometimes it helps to have that contrast. You've got that sort of vertical and horizontal, and you're seeing, as well as say the apple shape might be a little bit like that. You're kind of comparing it. You can see this bit of negative space around it. Yeah. So that can be useful if you're struggling with seeing shapes. The other thing about drawing shapes is, say you've got a shape, something like an apple or a pear, and they're not, they're organic shapes. They're not perfectly symmetrical. You could draw it. I know that. You could perhaps draw it as a series of straight lines. If this helps. And then just round the corners off. Because you find some bits a little bit straighter, some bits are maybe a sort of broader arc and then a tighter radius or something like that. So that's a way of just really helping you to just really pay attention to that particular apple rather than its neighbour, and try and see, try and observe the differences. And when I'm painting and drawing, I don't try and draw everything, but I try and observe differences in things. I think if you can really highlight the differences and really observe what's there, you'll get a much stronger drawing, much stronger painting. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Any questions? Right, good. Right.
Make it complicated.